Um, First of all, I like to sincerely thank my dear friend Ravi Anandar and the UK Meditation give me a chance to this opportunity to do my presentation. As I said, the study is about 28 people, including 11 service users or patients we call, and 17 staff. The service users are with a dual diagnosis, that means severe enduring mental illness and learned disability, with an additional comorbid conditions as obesity or diabetes, sleep disorder, blood pressure, and severe challenging behavior disorders. This study based on the assumption that Yogasana users could have attended the session. It is a weekly hour and a half session, went on till March 2020, until the first lockdown. Then by that time we have done about 36 sessions. This study I did presenting now is only the first 24 sessions. Finally, I must thank you all my service users and parents, colleagues, health and social care team, support staff. Without them, the study would not have possible. Also, kindly bring to attention this presentation might be come across be a bit repetitive or back to the basics, so to speak, because having attended UK meditation, so please kindly bear with me. Okay. Now, its index is there. I think it's a declaration. I think you can see it. I'll go straight away to the next one. There's a conflict of interest statement for all of us and for me. I have no any sort of conflicts of interest or anything by presenting. So that's straightforward. And also the same way we all sort of keep our confidentiality, not disclosing any information about a client or service users. Third, I thought it's the provoking thoughts I came across while I was on holiday. That's in a Time magazine. He talks about power of yoga, where he mentioned two provoking thoughts of Eastern and Western tradition. What he says, the Eastern tradition develops metaphors or ways of describing the body as a life force energy rather than the physical energy as a life force or a subtle force or even primary energy. Also, the Western treats a person on a holistic basis, how the body, mind, and breath are integrated. Finally, also it believes there is a lot to do with our consciousness, and we experience the present moment as you know in Kundalini. While the Western tradition appears to look at the body outside from peeling what can see layer by layer. That means this is based on a measurement, and they want to prove and also treats the disease in a system of medicine. And it's supposed to be fragmented at time. And we got different specialities, we go with a second opinion, and you know, so it's anyway, however, it's one of the research says International Yoga 2011, the modern medicine has the ability to alleviate psychological disorders. It is arguing purely a medical approach is far less effective in healing the emotional, intellectual, and personality layers of human entity. If you have any questions, please stop and ask me. I'm rushing through. He says just a slide to sort of highlight how yoga transforms your body or our body. That comes to on the later part of to compare with our service users what they say about their body. That's what I brought in now. Again, the health issues, as we know, especially in mental health and learning disability, that's what I specialize on. If you in a GP surgery, there are 2% of people with learning disability and 40% of the mental health issues in an average GP. So you can see, I think now since C19 corona COVID-19 situation might be a bit higher. That's first one. Second one, as you know, common cause of death is coronary heart disease. Unhealthy lifestyle we have. They are inactive, obese due to poor nutrition, etc. That increase the risk of early death. Mental health, challenging behavior, in the sense I'm talking about people generally people learn disability, they pose also challenging behavior in some severe mental illness, example in hearing voices or suicidal tendencies, that kind of things are, severe depression are widely reported. And again, 2/3 have been reported with severe constipation. And finally, it's as you know, corona C19, without saying, is emerged now as rapidly evolving situation. It seems to be one of the biggest health and care issues for the human history. I think a few days ago it was mentioned the lifespan will be shortened due to this illness. So I just highlighting some of the issues we have, whether it's a normal population or whether it's people with learning disability or people with mental health issues. So the objective of the study is, I looked at a few areas: clinical relevance, effects on the body system, increase in how flexibility, mobility, etc. Again, therapeutic intervention, prevention and mitigation, and the 7 outcomes. So I thought clinical reference, for an example, how these our service users are, our patients are, they have severe mental illness, and in additional learning disability, they are on, especially as you know, they suffer from psychosis, so they are on psychotropic medication, lack of self-care, and how you manage symptoms. That I meant in sort of clinical relevance. Body system, as you know, is a musculoskeletal or central nervous system or cardiovascular system. Looking into how that can be, the Yogasana might help. And again, therapeutic intervention, Yogasana, again, yoga could be as a tool and can be implemented. Even a simple relaxation can alleviate pain or sleep disorder or any pain. I thought I'll just mention a few certain poses we do in Ashtanga or Hatha Yoga or whatever, whatever style of nursing, style of yoga. I think I just to mention a few years ago, I had a knee injury. I was referred to various department, MRI scan, X-ray, everything. Eventually I was told, oh, it's aging process, 50% chance of operation. I thought, I think exactly 4 years ago, I thought my sort of yoga teaching career is zero. Now, Islam, I've been teaching, so God saved in many ways, as well as my belief and my yoga therapy as well. So it's something we do. There are so many other examples of sort of stories we can hear. And when it comes to mitigation, again, it's prevention mitigation. It's a recent study in C19. It's quite interesting. Just before the lockdown, the immune function and yoga for the pre-existing conditions and elderly, and how to manage against the disease. So he went on to say there is a plethora of evidence to support yoga and adult benefits. And mitigation, as you know, we all know how pranayama, om, Adimulas humming would be what sort of joy and healing process for us. So again, is interesting. Not very long ago in Bali, there's a large number of Muslim yoga practitioners. We were there attending classes. Uh, on top of it, there are videos and YouTubes and virtual trainings are there. I'm not that keen. Anyway, that's face to face. I prefer it to be more effective than any other mode of teaching. So the study about how did I go about comparison sessions, 24 sessions, using the behavior scale, behavioral activity analysis using a portfolio, 15 minutes video, including interviews and feedback from the service users themselves. And I think especially the identical questions to all service users, and especially what's the favorite poses they have. But they have done over. I think we had wall posters to show how that could be. I explained to them, and so they come out with certain, not quite interesting. There's a video clips you can see a bit later, and also sort of 7 minutes. But I think these 7 service users who have attended over 80% of the sessions, and they also, as you know, diagnosed. We looked into their initial diagnosis and the history when they came into the first week and the last 24 weeks, how their current mental state, medication, those sort of things. Then also internal and external presentation to the local team, and also presented the International Mental Health Nurses Forum, as we mentioned earlier. So referral process, that's very important in, as you know, in health or social care. I think fortunately we had excellent multimedia support. There are service user friendly referral formats we specially made for this. Again, promoting the presentation and promoting posters at the clinics, outpatients, GP surgeries, day services, wherever services are come in contact, also presenting in different meetings. And also you sort of clear out the criteria for sessions, all walks of life, including the diverse group as we work with. Limited understanding, they have communication skills, and cognitive functions are, lacking daily living skills. So those sort of things they have. They're unfortunate. Anyhow, we never turned anybody off, providing a culturally and psychological and physiological normative manner. So the idea is encouraged to shift their focus on yoga practice more than towards the individual experience. So teaching, again, as I said, consent is very, very important. From the services themselves, and we have parents discussion with the multidisciplinary team professionals who are referring the service users for the yoga. That's number one. Then go into choice in yoga. As you know, in the world there are so many forms of pranayama. I think, and also there are 84,000 poses. Poses there, or asanas there, only 10% are usually on the mat or a chair. I think this practice is from, as you know, as we all aware, the ancient and not so ancient Indian tradition are here. We have a diverse group, as we mentioned earlier, who they want to practice, how one could explore what is real yoga is, unless they fit into commercial image of the yogi, or still integration still exists, unfortunately. My experience in yoga back there in a Hindu Jaffna College boarding, my training and experience was fortunately an evidence-based Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga for our type of our service users was chosen. As he mentioned earlier, the 8 limbs, asana is one of the aspects, and the rest of them are helps to fulfill life fully. It was a particular challenge how to introduce a group, what form is going to be, or both. Again, I started with the yoga with a chair, and that's the only option we had. Eventually, we moved into chair and mat yoga after 6 weeks. Again, teaching some of the languages what we speak, and again, it's an average 24 weeks session based on 40% more asana, 10% pranayama, 8 to 10 minutes on relaxation. Again, it's if you see the modification, you can see some of the service users. We top of the left-hand corner, that's a achievement certificate, mindful yoga certificate. Or on the other side, so we go into the modification, props, chanting, etc. We see this one, modified office yoga, what I turned with modified one of the offices into a studio. So you can see the services behind there, all the posters there, various parts of the body, I could say, illustrated on a picture form, pictorial form, and that sort of things help them to see, identify where everything coming from. Again, if you ask yoga, what is yoga, people won't, so you have to make an explanation what is supposed to be. And if you ask meditation, what is meditation, it's not many, even the normal situation, if I say on the street, it's very easy, difficult to say, and sometimes we say, go and sit down and do the meditation. Obviously, as you know, counting the breath would be not an easiest task to do. I think, so again, go back to when we start, Iyengar very clearly says, is described as God, our breathing system. He talks about how generative O is organized and D is destructive. A tremendous relationship. How we explain how among the breath, lungs, how they are interrelated. So it goes on to, again, you can see different poses. These are service users who participated in. And I think it's a final part. I think we can see all of the things are modified to suit the service users. One of the levels doing Surya Namaskara. So I don't know, this one, I have pranayama, I put tasan in there. I don't know how, have you any guess? You know why I mentioned tasan in there? Any thoughts? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, good. I just, the tasan I put on the one of the slides, that's one when I tried to teach pranayama for the service users as a tasan breathing. You know how, I think that's one of those things you are not prompting to telling to breathe, they are not telling to breathe. It's by beating, eventually they got to know how to do pranayama. So eventually they started doing Om. Again, we see that this one, we use, how can you say we are going to do yoga? So, Gyan Mudra, you say, we are going to do yoga. You go slow round circle, both hands, and become bigger and bigger and say, we are going to do yoga. At the same tone, when we finish, we say, yoga is finished. Yoga is finished. That kind of we are using Gyan Mudra towards this while we're teaching. Again, the final part, as we see, is very challenging to anyone, and especially our service users. You've modified some of the savasana into Viparita Karani, and or using the wall, using a chair. And end of the day, I think it's a background music. Om Namah Shivaya. You'll hear it later on. It's very, very famous for them, and also finished with star pose. So that's more or less the teaching. And again, every session we again provide cups of drinks and or some drinks, whatever fruits, and we will feedback from each and every services. Now you can see what's a hands-on work. How actually the teaching, you go around, we look at the service users. So the one I learned from my training, it says, do as you do, what you see. That kind of.
Oh,
Well, one of the small clip of video I want to put in for you. He's one of the services. He says,
new to yoga. Practice
anybody guess what this services I was walking along and doing what? Okay.
He was supported by 3 staff, including the key worker.
Look at the hand.
Terry has moved quickly from chair to mat yoga.
And now turn.
later on lade Aslian.
Ravinder
Oh,
taught himself unaided pranayama, food, Tarzan, and chest and abdominal breathing. Most interestingly noticed was that Terry had to be aroused from his deep stillness and tranquility. He also was keen on returning to future sessions. Staff were not only dedicated in involvement, but also in enjoying sessions.
Finally, some of the thoughts I have to object. The thing is saying that there were enough yoga professionals in yoga in a nursing or any other profession, and they are I think they are better placed to decide to work on certain condition. Especially the good example is when services or a patient is really disturbed or severe anxiety state whether what sort of pranayama could be used rather than PR medication you need on the spot. Again, that's a trained professional. Other one is standardization. I don't think we have. There needs to be a standardized system of treatment that focus on anatomy, physiology, and movement. So that needs to be. It's a good way of moving forward. Cooperation, it requires cooperation among the yoga community in a way, setting up national standards or licensures. That's a subject is ongoing at the moment. And there's a debate among yoga teachers and leaders who represents dozens or even not even hundreds of different styles of philosophies, all called yoga. I think they had to come, have some sort of several regulations. It's to be known what a group does, a self-group regulate itself to ensure there is a competency among practitioners before they unleash to the public. Another one I thought was educational forum, a non-partisan educational forum for lawmakers to discuss how to integrate health legislation based on the research. And also there is a quite interesting development in the USA. We always follow from there. 81 million over 6 years have been in place to develop, implement and test non-drug approaches, including yoga and meditation for the pain management. And there must be a tailor-made service. Yoga teachers whom we work with any group immediately be a tailor-made class with a unique culture in mind. Again, how to create the class is another challenge for us, to create a class that are rewarding and engaging to a population that is not physically, not all are athletes. And also might have a right direction. It seems right directions for advocates of using yoga as a preventative practice, like a treatment. As a good example is a depression, mostly involves physiological, pharmacological intervention. Or for severe anxiety, stress through, as it reduces the body-mind exercise and widespread therapy. Finally, I think just to concrete, Yogasana in our working place in Hackney seems to have some effect along with the contemporary multidisciplinary team intervention. I think there are clear evidence and their mental health somewhere improved, their personal habit is improved, especially symptoms, some of the staff able to manage, they get no services as well. One of the services is the blood pressure medication is reviewed and stopped, and the weight management, as you know, psychotropic medication, the side effects of weight gain that were very successfully managed. You pay a few service users. Finally, they involve making the life, whether it's a chair yoga, whether it's a mat yoga, is something the body mind might be small steps toward, but the small step always a bigger step for them, for their health and well-being. With that, I conclude my session, and also finally I put any question time, and also I for Kanda Puranam, that one of the prayer I say every morning. So any questions, please do. Any questions? No?
Yeah, there is a question to be asked from Mr. Srinivasan.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate your sharing of knowledge. My question was related to how come even the younger people who are going to have some kind of a mental illness of dementia can be overcome from the yoga, or maybe taken care at Western side, right? From you are customizing it according to the needs of the.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So your question is how yoga could be used in people with dementia?
Yes.
Yes, it's a very good, interesting question. Plus, I think in my personal experience, I think we are all getting older. I think I came across Satnam, 12 minutes, 15 minutes meditation. I've been doing, as I said, few or not, many months. It's a 12 minutes meditation. It's a research-based meditation. It says very clearly for Alzheimer's or any kind of dementia. So there are a lot of studies done in states about a group of people how they improved their quality of life. So there is a clear evidence on Yogasana, especially our Kundalini part of the yoga is the Satnam meditation. Yes, definitely. It's a curtain kriya meditation. That's what I practice. So there is, yes, a clear evidence.
Thanks, sir. It is really informative, sir.
Thank you.
ரவி சார் நீங்க பேசலாம்.
Thank you for accommodating my friend Tirunavukarasu, who had lifelong interest in yoga and dedicated himself to Dharma Yoga, servicing the community even today after he is unable to do his normal work. He is volunteering a lot of his services. For that, I thank him. And I thank the group for accommodating him and listening to him. As we come out of these narrow confines of Vedatriyam, I don't mean that in a critical way, we expand our mind to what else is out there. Arivukumundo adekkum thal. So we don't confine ourselves to claim that this is the only way forward. There are other ways which are equally good, and we have to have an open mind. This is what I believe, my personal view. So I just wanted to mention that, and I thank everyone for listening to my friend Thiru.
தீபா நீங்க உங்களுடைய query ரைஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாங்க.
Hello, Thiru sir. Really inspiring to listen to your research experience.
Hello, Nama.
Sorry. Just a couple of questions. Did you use mixed methodology approach using both quantitative and qualitative data?
Yes, it's the one I have used. It's one of the behavioral approach. If we see it, it should be what the 7 outcomes we have. So I think first we comparison sessions before and after 24 weeks. We looked at the psychiatric observation where at the beginning and or the first week and the 24th week. We used one of the behavioral activity analysis using a portfolio. It's Susan Hartlett. So that was been used for the children in learning disabilities in states. So that I used one of them is a main tool for this one. So again, the several vignettes who have looked at their conditions and pre-morbid conditions, and so I'm not exactly I hope answering your question. This is what I used.
No, sir, I think you've answered it. I was just going to ask about the outcomes, which you've already explained. And a couple more questions, sir, please. Sorry to take more time. How did you source the funding for such research and persuasion of it? And then one more question is, did you have any resistance from participants in using religious terminologies? Or it's not necessarily religious, but did they connect Om or Namah Shivaya to religious aspects, and were they resisting to it, and how did you tackle it? Thank you.
Yes, funding. I think my authority, East London Foundation Trust, they are excellent. I think, as you know, attending whether it's a conference in Europe or whether it's a conference in London, World Health Mental Organization, it's quite a lot of money. Every time it's a 700, 800 pounds. Plus my colleague, he's one of the nurses who helped me throughout the sessions. Without him, I couldn't have done anything actually. So we had to pay. It's about each time 1,000, 1,400 pounds. Again, that's in London, and other one is in European. Again, as you know, is very expensive, sort of. So they are. The thing is, even they paid for my plane fare, for our plane fare to go. Even I want to take few service users there. Some more of that, as you know, March, April, that turned into a virtual presentation. So yes, I think it was excellent. I cannot any way of even every 36 sessions, every sessions, end of the day, you need to buy some fruits, you have to buy some drinks, so you got to buy whatever fruits, so that's a couple of pounds. Again, they all said you claim through the travel expenses, so they are very generous. The second point is how I accommodate. If we see the class, all I think various groups of people attended. I think my initial I think intellection on whether it's a team meeting, whether any presentation, I make it very clear. Yoga is not anywhere in a connotation of any religion of any kind. So it's purely how we deal with our internal space, how we control our internal space. Here you mean the breathing, pranayama, that kind of poses, how we're going to use them to evidence-based. We have to say, about how these are, they help to people. So that kind of it's not convincing to make them to understand where I'm coming from, where the yoga is actually coming from. So it's so again, it's a Eastern-Western way of I explained earlier. That gave me a bit of sort of talk about how. So again, I said earlier, I think in Bali when I was there, there's a group of Muslim yoga teachers was there. So I think again, when it comes to, I think the whole group, they loved this Om Namah Shivaya. I tell you, unbelievable. And then when he put in the pranayama, the last part, savasana, I'm not telling a word of lie. I had to wake them up. Even my secretary was over the road, my next room, she said, Smithy, there, that's what they call me, my name is. So he said, how did you do it? It's not, I didn't do it. The session they did and this music. So I don't think fortunately I didn't come across, even when I teach, only thing I thought it's we sort of imagine, people do understand what this breathing is, how we breathe. He said, do you breathe? He said, yeah, of course. They laugh and say, yes, I breathe. Tell me what's happening in your chest. They won't have a clue, honestly. So those are the things we had to go back on the basic things in what's happening in the body then. So that's kind of alleviate the anxiety, that kind of things will help across the border, whether it's always we see psychological, physiological or other emotional way of looking at it. So it's quite a again, I think I started with a few years ago office yoga first time. So people with a different, as you know, in the health and social care service, how people are wanted to know, they're willing to know, wanting to know. They all come, all different walks of life. So it's fortunately I didn't sort of face that kind of people are. Well, as I said earlier, it's not everybody's cup of tea, yoga is. So you have to be, I can't convince my home, my boys or my wife. It's So sadly, it's not everybody's. Does it?
Yeah.
Please,
Thank you, sir.
surely.
Thank you, sir. Dr. SVS, is there any query from your side?
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent presentation and for all your work. Just one question. Was there any, can you just tell me what's the dropout rate from your sessions?
What is the drop rate? Yes, it, as I said, 26 people, 11 service users. Out of that, 8 service users, they attend over 80%. So every service user, I think 3 of them, they had to be supported to come to the yoga session, so that the staff also joined. So in a session, we are the group photo, we see it, they are staff and the service users. So drop, I think it's 1 or 2 of them dropped because they were posing challenging behavior because of the voices, because they have been reviewed by the psychiatry, so and GP. So when I say, I think they are very fortunate, and how I managed to keep them motivated, how they, coming back again and again. It's I cannot even. I still sometimes think, what is it? Is a teacher? Is it the way we presented, the way we teaching, is the way the music, is the way the poses make it more simple, or is it what is it? I think end of the day, there's 7 outcomes I didn't talk about. I think it's something. It's quite a. I think it's a small step. It's a big step for them. So they were some of them out. So.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Ganga ஐயா இதோட நம்ம வந்து கன்க்ளூட் பண்ணிக்கலாங்களா ஐயா?
It's a good session. Thank you, Diva. Diva, you are turning into a highly experienced professor. Welcome to you. Hopefully,
Thank
we'll
you,
have
sir.
when we join the APD, you are very, very conscious. You are very in a systematic way and a very easy way you conducted this meditation.
Thank you so much, sir.
And we bless for your services to grow and more and more subsections to be opened in the north. You will continue to help us. Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed by the divine. And especially also, and then about the speaker, Thiru came around, and he's an experienced yoga teacher. And he is trying his best to influence the importance of yoga or the benefits of yoga to NHS. It is really a challenging task, and he has been doing it well. And as he clearly said, the East London Health Service is very supportive of it. So we want to continue to grow his services, and we need to find more people who can do that. Hopefully, using his experience, Lancashire team, and like Dr. Sakti, he is our Director of Public Health, able to utilize this as an example and try to build more awareness of yoga within the NHS. The idea is to prevent the what you call diseases rather than going for a cure. So for that matter, I really thank Mr. Tirunavukar to come out and help us to understand the amount of work single-handedly has been doing it within the NHS. Ravi, you are wonderful. You brought your colleague, theoretically, you have almost like 70 years of your friendship from the school days, more than 50 years. And you brought him in, and it was, to me, it was a new, certainly new experience. The amount of efforts Mr. Tirunavukar has put in to go and convince the NHS to say, here is a method, is an easier way to do it, and there are benefits. And I think his challenges of going around to either to Europe or UK, all around the world, and he wants his services to grow further. We want to bless him for his health and his continuous efforts to introduce yoga for the betterment of the mankind. Valga Valamudan, be blessed.
I put a Kanda Puranam there, Kadasila. If we can all sort of sing, I'll be very grateful.
I think we are running out of time. We'll go for a Ulakanala Verpu. Tangaraj Ulakanala Verpu Salivoma.
சரிங்க ஐயா பண்ணிடலாம். ரவி ஐயா ஏதோ இப்ப கையை உயர்த்திருக்காங்க. என்னங்க ஐயா?
I just wanted to thank Deepa for an individual take on the Panjabhuta Navagrahadavam. Some of the explanations were excellent. One issue though I have, when people say there's 72% of the earth is surrounded by water, I know 28% is land, mud, and isn't the other 4 elements present on the earth as well, taking up some of the 72%, like fire in the middle of earth and so on? So maybe Deepa can answer that.
தீபா உங்களால பதில் சொல்ல தயாருங்களா?
இல்ல 70 எனக்கு क्वेश्चन புரியல சார்.
இல்ல அதாவது உலகத்துல 72% வந்து நீரால் சூழப்பட்டிருக்குன்னு நம்ம சொன்னீங்களே, ஆனா மிச்ச எலமெண்ட்ஸும் இருக்குது. ஃபயர் ஒரு சென்டர் பார்ட்ல இருக்கு. அது வந்து அந்த 72 இதுக்குள்ள அடக்கமா இல்ல அது தனியா அப்படின்னு சொல்லி அவங்க கேள்வி கேட்கறாங்க.
I think here, Ravi, I think the word is surface area and that's all. We are not talking about the volume. The surface area is the one we mentioned. Other than we are mentioning, so I wouldn't go too detailed in it. It's a surface area is mentioned.
Yeah,
not the volume.
Maharishi says, if 28 வீதம் நிலம் மிகுதி பெரும்பாலாக நீரால் சூழப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. That means mostly covered by water, not necessarily 70%.
Statistically, we need not go pinpoint at 70% or 75% doesn't make much of a difference.
ஆமா, எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்ஸும் சேர்ந்ததுதான் சார் உலகத்துல இருக்க எல்லாமே. சோ நம்மளும் எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்ஸும் சேர்ந்ததுதான். ஒண்ணுல இருந்து ஒன்ன பிரிக்கவும் முடியாது, ஒண்ணுல இருந்து ஒன்ன உயர்த்தியோ தாழ்வு பண்ணியோ சொல்லவும் முடியாது. எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்ஸும் நமக்கு தேவை. அதுதான் எல்லாத்தையும் ஒண்ணு போல வணங்கிதான் நம்ம வந்து தவம் செய்யறோம். ஸோ 72% வந்து இந்த சயின்டிபிக்கலா இந்த எர்த் சர்ஃபேஸ் கவர் பண்றது அப்படின்றதுதான். மேபி நமக்கு தெரியாத விஷயங்களும் இருக்கலாம். எத்தனை % அதுல வாட்டர் எத்தனை, ஃபயர் எத்தனை % அப்படிலாம் நம்ம மெஷர் பண்ண முடியாது இல்ல. நமக்கு தெரிஞ்ச அறிவை வச்சு சொல்றோம். பட் எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்ஸுமே சமம் தான். தேங்க்யூ சார். தேங்க்யூ.
சரிங்க, உலக நல வாழ்த்து சொல்லி முடிச்சு போங்களா ஐயா?
எஸ், சொல்லிடுவோம்.
ஓகே. உலகமெல்லாம் பருவமழை ஒத்தபடி பெய்யட்டும், உழவரெல்லாம் தானியத்தை உவப்புடனே பெருக்கட்டும், பல தொழில்கள் புரிகின்ற பாட்டாளி உயரட்டும், பகுத்துணர்வில் தொகுத்துணர்வு பண்பாட்டை உயர்த்தட்டும், கலகங்கள் போட்டி பகை கடந்தாட்சி நடக்கட்டும், கல்லாமை கடன் வறுமை களங்கங்கள் மறையட்டும், நலவாழ்வை அளிக்கும் மெய் ஞான ஒளி வீசட்டும், நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும், நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும், நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும். வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். அமைதி, அமைதி, அமைதி. அனைவருக்கும் வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். நன்றி. தேங்க்யூ.